What's up, everybody? I'm Clayton. Welcome back to Ages of Film. Today we are reviewing The Magnificent Seven from 2016, directed by Antoine Fuqua. I did a poll on my channel last week asking you guys to vote on which Western film you guys wanted me to review next. I had already reviewed Tombstone, got a lot of views on that one, a lot of likes, so I thought I would do another Western movie for you freaks. So it was between this one, True Grit from 2010, El Dorado, and Unforgiven. And this is the one that won out. So here you go. Democracy at work, right? The people voted. So, yeah, this is for you guys. Hope you enjoy it. So this is actually a remake, from the original Magnificent Seven, I believe, was 1960. I think it was 1960. Also a good Western film. If you haven't seen the original, I would recommend it. It is a classic. It is a very good film. And I think it would give you a greater appreciation for the remake. That's just my opinion. You can do with that as you will. But yeah, so the remake, it stars Denzel Washington. It's got a loaded cast, man. It's got Denzel Washington, Chris Pratt, Ethan Hawke, yeah, just an awesome cast, ensemble of actors and talent. So yeah, very well made film. I've seen this movie a number of times. It is a very good Western. I like both the original and the remake. So I'll just kind of give my thoughts on this movie. Just as a reminder, guys, this is just my opinion on this movie. If you disagree, that's totally fine. All I ask that you be respectful in the comment section, but let me know your thoughts on The Magnificent Seven. But before we get into this review, I do want to just give a few shout outs. One of them being to Movies and Beyond. Also check out The Bearded Entertainment, Brian Lomax Movie Channel, and Peter Anthony's production. All four of those channels are awesome channels. They've all got awesome content over there. Michael, Eric, Brian, I've had all of them on my channel before. So go check out those episodes in the archives and go give them some love. Subscribe to their channels, give them a thumbs up, enjoy all their awesome content. So yeah. Let's get into The Magnificent Seven, starting off with the positives, as always. And it's really just going to be a bunch of positives because, quite frankly, as I said, I love this movie. It's a great Western. I love Westerns. I love a good Western when they're done right. They're some of my favorite films. Obviously, I'm a horror fan. This channel started out as a horror channel. So I'm still dropping horror content. Horror is, that's still my baby. It's still my my genre. But I do love a good Western as well when they're done right. So I grew up with watching a lot of Westerns on TV, a lot of the classics. My dad was big into Westerns, so they were kind of always on TV, and I always like them. There's just something about, that time in history, the 1800s. It was just, it's dirty, it's gritty, it's hard, it's dark, and yeah, it's just something very appealing about that time. So, yeah, I just love the setting of Westerns. And yeah, some people have, I think, a little bit different definitions of what makes a Western. For me, a Western, if you got cowboys and it's set in the 1800s. It's a Western. You know, that's pretty much, that's the formula. That's pretty much all you need to qualify. You need cowboys and you need the 1800s. If you got those two things, you're a Western. But if you don't have cowboys, you know, and you're not set in the 1800s, you're no Daisy. You're no Daisy at all. All right. So, but yeah, love a good Western. This is certainly one of them. And I love the cast here. So I guess that's, I'll start off by just, you know, tipping my hat to the cast here. Denzel Washington. I mean, we all know Denzel. The guy's a beast. He's one of the greatest actors we've ever had. Phenomenal talent. Always electric. Always brings a lot of charisma and energy to the screen. He's fantastic as Chisholm in this movie. Does a great job. Chris Pratt, always entertaining. No matter what he's doing, you know, he's always, he glues you to the screen. You know, he brings you in a very likable character. And he does a great job in this movie as well. And it's got my boy Ethan Hawke in this movie. I love Ethan Hawke. Think he's an incredible actor. Yeah, he's one of my favorite actors. I just love him in everything that he's in. Sinister, one of my favorite horror movies. He's awesome in that one. Obviously, Training Day with Denzel. Yeah, the guy's just, he's phenomenal. And I love him in this movie as well. So, and then it's got, oh man, I forget the guy's name, but he's been in a number of really good stuff. He was also in Sinister. He played I guess the cult specialist. But he also played Kingpin and Daredevil for all of you Marvel fans out there. You know who I'm talking about, hopefully. He's also great in this movie. So the acting, I thought, was really good across the board. The guy who plays the villain, our antagonist in this movie, does a really good job. He does really good at making you hate him. Just something about his face, his facial expressions, the way he kind of carries himself, just an easy character to hate and to, cheer against. Which makes, that makes the film better when it's a bad guy that you can actually, you actually do hate and you want to see get what's coming to him. It makes you naturally cheer for the protagonists easier when the antagonist is a villain that you genuinely, hate. So, and he does a very good job at making you, yeah. So good acting across the board, even by the supporting characters, the townspeople, and the bad guys, little henchmen guys. The acting is great. Great acting by everybody. Really, really entertaining, fun movie. I also like with the writing and the story, I like that they open up with the villain. They open up by, introducing you to our antagonist. So right from the start who it is that you're cheering against, who it is that is going to be creating plot throughout the movie. They don't wait halfway through the film to establish the villain. They introduce you to him right from the start. And they instantly make him a very unlikable, prick in the movie, for lack of a better word. But, and I like that. I like that they established the villain early on. I think it's good writing. Typically, your hero's only as good as your villain. And if you don't have a good villain in the film, it's kind of hard to get on board sometimes with the motive, with the characters. It's like, okay, well, who are we really fighting against? This guy's not really all that bad. It's it's harder to get invested in the film if the villain doesn't work. And when you're not introduced to the villain early on, you know, that can be another issue for the film. But here they establish the villain from the beginning. I like that. It's good writing. They make him very unlikable. And yeah, so kudos to that. I think the script as a whole is pretty well written, pretty well handled. You know, you get from point A to point B with pretty reasonably. There's not really a lot of plot holes here. You know, there's some things that are kind of, you know, a little over the top, a little extreme, that I don't know that I necessarily buy it. And what I mean by that is, like, they pull out all the typical Western tropes in this movie, you know, guys doing crazy things with their guns, with their pistols, guys shooting bad dudes from the side of their horse, you know, just all the cool fancy gun tricks, and, you know, just a lot of stuff that it looks cool on screen, but if you care about writing and story and script and getting from point A to point B, that can sometimes be a little bit of a nuisance. Just, you know, if you're not in a setting where that stuff makes sense, it's, you know, it can be a little hard to get on board with it. You know, if we're in a superhero movie, you know, or a science fiction movie where those kind of things make more sense as to how they could work, then I can get on board with it. But when we're in a story that's grounded in reality, and people are just doing these crazy stuff that just wouldn't really happen in real life, and you're grounding your story in real life and in reality, it gets a little hard to get on board with it. So there's a few things that were a little over the top like that. But overall, I think, you know, if you're just reading through the script, if you're just following along with the story, I think they do a really good job at getting you from point A to point B throughout the story, from point B to point C. I think the plot is handled well. I think the tension is handled well. The characters are very entertaining characters. So for me, the pacing is really good in this movie. I'm not bored at all in this film. I'm engaged the entire time because I'm engaged with these characters. I like these characters. They're very engaging and entertaining. So, you know, pacing issues come in more like, if you're not fully invested in the story, or you're not fully invested with the characters, then you tend to have pacing issues. Pacing is very subjective. It's really, you know, at the viewers, you know, the viewer's pace. Like if you get bored in the movie, then the movie has pacing issues. But for me, I'm not bored at all in this movie. I don't think the movie goes too fast. I don't think it goes too slow. I think you spend just enough time with each of these characters to invest in them, to like them, you know, to understand their perspective. That's another thing I like with this movie, is that you see the perspective from each of these main 7 characters that you're following. They give each of them reason, motive, perspective. They're not just flat characters, they're rounded. And I like that. I like that about this movie, is that you get into, you know, the mind of these characters and understand each of them. And that's something that I appreciate. It makes me like and connect more with the characters. So I thought the writing was good. I did overall. The directing by Antoine Fuqua is really good. Love the cinematography in this movie. Think it's just a beautifully shot film. Some really just great scenes and camera work. I think it really captures that time in the 1800s really well. just some beautiful photography on screen. And I think it's well directed. The sound was really good. The score was really good. It fit the film. The costumes look great. Everything involved with the directing, I thought, was A+. So, really good job with the directing. And so moving on to the negatives. I don't really have a lot of negatives with this movie. Just a couple of minor issues I have. I kind of touched on one of them, being with kind of the over top moments with some of these characters just doing these crazy stuff with their guns and their pistols. I get that it's a Western. I get what they were doing. They're trying to, lean into those Western tropes for viewers. That a lot of that stuff worked early on in, cinema and in Westerns. But this is the 21st century when this movie was made, and 2016, I think we've kind of moved past some of that stuff, and you can still make a really good Western film and not necessarily have all of those, ridiculous, outlandish stuff going on, shootouts and everything. So that stuff gets a little bit, annoying for me. When I watch this movie, it's like, okay, I don't know that I buy all that stuff, but not a big criticism there, just something a little minor. And then another negative that I personally would have would be some of the dialogue. I don't know that some of the dialogue necessarily worked. Some of it just felt a little out of place, because it felt like at some points they're writing dialogue that would work in modern day and trying to fit that into the 1800s way of speaking, into 1800 dialogue. And it just at some points didn't really come across as authentic or genuine to how those characters would talk at that time. It felt like modern language and modern words put into an older time period. Some of the dialogue for me felt a little off. Entertaining, a lot of it was ad-libbed by, in particular, Chris Pratt and some of the other characters. But that's a minor criticism. That's not something that ruins the movie at all for me. It's just, when I'm listening to the dialogue, right, listening to the words and watching the movie, knowing the setting that we're in, some of it just feels a little like, I don't know that dialogue really works for this particular setting or this character. But that would be another negative. And then the only other negative that I really have, and this is just a personal preference, is the tone of the movie. I felt was a little too light, on the light side for me. When I come to a Western film in particular, I like my Western films to be a little darker toned, and a little more serious, and a little more just, I don't know, grown up, maybe. I don't know if that's the best word, but like, don't get me wrong, I enjoy humor, well-placed humor in any type of film. I enjoy laughing and I enjoy humor in film, but I also, I also want the right tone for a movie. And for me, I feel like this movie, had it had a little bit darker of a tone to it, may have helped it out, and I may have liked it even more had it had a bit of a darker tone to it. But that being said, I do really like the humor in this movie. I do think it's well placed, primarily from Chris Pratt. Brings most of the humor, I would say. He does have some great lines in the movie. I love this. I love the scene where the group of guys, they come into the village the first time, and there's the little posse there, and they had that shootout, and then afterwards, Chris Pratt was like, "Yeah, I killed." The one guy's like, "I killed 5," and then Chris Pratt was like, "I killed 6." And then he asked one of the other guys, "How many did you kill?" And he's like, 6. And Chris Pratt goes, "I killed 7." Stuff like that. Like there's some really good lines, well placed humor in the movie. But I don't know. I guess tone wise, I prefer in a Western movie to have a darker tone. It's not really like a criticism necessarily with the movie. It's more just like a personal preference type of thing. But yeah, there you go, guys. That's my thoughts. That's pretty much all I got for you on the Magnificent Seven remake. I do like the original as well, for what it's worth. But I do prefer the remake over the original. I like the original a lot. I think it's a great film, but I prefer the remake. And if I was going to sit down and rewatch one of them, I think the remake is a little more rewatchable. And I enjoy it a little bit more than the original. But yeah, great movie, guys. I love this film. My overall rating here, I would give it 4.5 stars out of 5. It's a great film. Thoroughly enjoy it. And it's a lot of that, again, comes down to the cast, the characters, the acting, the performances, and the story. I do think it's got a lot of heart. It's these outlaws, this group of characters that at first they're kind of just in it for the money. They're kind of just in it, for the wealth, because they're getting paid to take out this group of, bad guys or whatever, this regime. And originally this group of 7 outlaws, they're really just in it for the money. But then over time, as the story plays out, they have change, and they start actually having empathy for these civilians, and they actually start recognizing the importance of fighting for the common man and fighting for the common good and the well-being of others. And so I do think this movie has that emotional heart to it. And I think there is definitely story there, philosophically, about, standing up for what's right and defending what you love, protecting what you love. And nothing else, fighting for people that can't fight for themselves, and the importance and significance of that. So, I do think this is a movie that has story there, that actually has essence to it, has substance to it. And yeah, I love it. I love this movie. Great film. 4.5 stars. There you go. Those are my thoughts on the Magnificent Seven. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. Do you agree with my rating? Do you disagree? Let me know anything and everything you want to mention about this film in the comments section. Thank you guys for voting on this movie, and thank you guys for tuning in. And until next time, kick it and rock on.